Good morning. Whoa, that's bad. I have to work on my studio here. Not sure. Sun is just not right today, is it? We're struggling today. I'm running a little bit late here. But here we are. Living the dream. And I can't even get to my proper place here. Alright, let me try to do something here real quick. There. That's a little better. Alright. Good morning. Let me see, Dennis and Sharon, Peggy, Betty, Lynette. Good to see you guys on here. Peggy, we pray for George. I hope that things are going okay with him. He's back in the VA, I heard, so pray for him. Pray for one another, guys. We definitely need that, and don't think of that as last resort. That's the most powerful thing we can do, guys, is pray for one another. So let's make sure that we do that. How many of you guys are already tired of all the politics for the year? Man, I'm telling you, this next month is going to be crazy for sure. I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm worried about the elections. I'm not. I'm disappointed in some people. I think some people will either just choose not to vote, or they will vote for a third party just because they've decided in their mind they just don't like Trump. And because I don't, and I guess there are those that will vote for Kamala because they think she's a worthy candidate. I don't see where you get that at all. I don't see how she's worthy of any kind of an office whatsoever. But the thing is people keep posting stuff on social media like you're going to think you are going to change somebody's mind, or it just keeps the insults coming towards each other, and the hatred and the animosity, and I don't know, it's a turmoil. I don't like any of that. But we shall see what happens, and I have very little faith in our voting system anymore. So I think it'll be an act of God if Trump does get in, and I don't know. I think the level of cheating these days is beyond what we can ever imagine. But anyway, that's not why we're on here. I hate to keep thinking about junk like that. And when we need to be busy doing the Lord's work, and whatever comes is going to come, and we can stand up for righteousness and stand up for Christ, and that's what we should do, and trust God with all of this. And Psalm 56 is a reminder of that. I mean, you're right, Paula. He does have a plan, and we want to follow his plan, and we want to trust him, and we want to do our part, our civic responsibilities. We ought to do that, and we ought to stand for righteousness and do those things, and make sure that we keep doing that, and let's do, and we'll just see what happens. But Psalm 56, he starts this off. He says, "Be merciful unto me, O God, for man would swallow me up. He fighting daily oppresseth me. And mine enemies would daily swallow me up. For they be many that fight against me, O thou most high. But then he says, what time I am afraid, I will trust in thee. In God, I will praise his word. In God, I have put my trust. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. And we need to live that way. I mean, we are, who knows? I mean, I think people are so anxious these days because of the unknown. And I think the unknown has become a more prevalent thinking than it has been in the past, when things were smoother and it wasn't, quite the mess that politics, morality, all of that. And it really, so much of that does stem from politics. I mean, the demise of politics, in my opinion, started with Clinton and trashed the office of presidency and his wicked behavior, and it just went down from there. I mean, Bush, all Bush did was he was such a globalist and say what he can say whatever he wants. He did not behave himself as a Bible believer, and but then from there, when Obama came in, he just took it straight off the cliff of immorality, and through that, our entire country has followed that, and we see in the things that they're trying to tell us that we must do. I mean, we have teachers having to take evaluations, tests, and in the school districts here about, the pronouns and all of that trash, and where are we at? I mean, what is going on when we stand up and say there are two genders, male and female, and you get trashed for being a bigot and being racist or homophobe? We're not being homophobe. We're just trying to be biblical in what God has said and how God has created it. All of science teaches there's only two genders, and the craziness of things, and that's just going to continue to get worse. And people that want to vote this woman in that supports all of this, it's just going to take our country down a trashy tube that never recover from. And the whole deal with it is those that are don't like Trump because of his personality or whatever. Well, you guys are the ones, I'm sorry, but you guys are the ones that are going to hide out when things really get bad. And it'll be those of us who truly do want to stand for right. We're the ones that'll go to jail. We're the ones that'll get persecuted. And you guys will bail. And those in the church that are doing that, you'll be the first ones to bail. You'll be the first ones to turn your back on people that love you and love God. But in all of this, what time I'm afraid, I will trust in thee. I will not fear what flesh can do unto me. And we just need to keep doing the right thing and keep walking the way that we should and stand on that. And I'm sorry, Jody, that I'm cutting out. I have no idea. My Wi-Fi says I'm doing fine. The, piece of trash, Facebook. Wish there was some other way to do this. I would get off of this so quick. And but it goes on. And he talks about the pressures that he deals with his enemies. But then he ends it by saying things like this. He says, thou tellest my wanderings, put thou my tears into thy bottle. Are they not in thy book? God remembers it all. We just need to continue to stand. And again, he says in verse 11, in God have I put my trust. I will not be afraid what man can do unto me. And so let's, this is our prayer of deliverance. This is the prayer that we ought to have for each and every day, and remind ourselves that our purpose here is to honor and glorify God. And so let's do that. And let's make sure that we keep doing that, and don't let the politics ruin your attitude and ruin your life. And so let's be careful with that. Then I was reading in Proverbs 23 today, and 6 through 8. And this is going to be interesting because it really changes somewhat of the text of this, what we use this for. I'll just read it and then I'll go over it. Proverbs 23, 6 through 8. Eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye, neither desire thou his dainty meats. That evil eye means that he's stingy. And so here we get into this, and eat thou not the bread of him that hath an evil eye. You go to someone who's stingy with what they have, and they're selfish with what they have, and you go and you sit down and you eat with him, and as you are eating with him, he's looking at you and he's counting the cost of everything that you're eating and paying attention to that. And don't fall in love with people like that. And these guys are putting on a show, but in all of this, they care nothing about you. They're stingy in all the things that they have. That's what an evil eye means. It has the idea more of being stingy. And then he goes on, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's interesting in the context of this then, as he is contemplating and giving thought to things and on what he's giving out, so is he. Eat, drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. Oh, he's telling you, oh, you go right ahead. But all the time he's just counting the cost of it. And then the morsel which thou hast eaten shall thou vomit up and lose thy sweet words. I think in this, it just seems to me that we use that part of the verse, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. But in this context, then we see that all he's doing is thinking about what you're costing him. And here you are eating of this because it's somebody that is powerful, somebody that, you have made it to the table, right? And here you are thinking you're something when you're nothing. And this man thinks he's something when he's nothing. And in this, all it's going to end up doing is making you sick. Why? Because God shows you that it means nothing. And our society today has their little hierarchy, and they have the who's who in the community and the who's who of, people go gaga over other people that have lots of money, and they want to treat them differently, and get over that. Get over all of that and understand that God has us where we are, and let's be humble and let's be kind and considerate to all other people, showing some respect. There is no respect today in politics. There's no respect with differing ideas, and even churches, and pastors, they get so intimidated when somebody comes into their church and maybe has some different ideas. You know what I found? I have found that the average person that goes to church truly doesn't understand everything of why they believe what they believe. And so they come in, and yes, they might have some differing opinions and some different ideas about different scriptures. And if they have an open heart and an open mind, just like you as a pastor ought to have an open heart and an open mind to the Word of God, together you can work things out and bring those differences to the biblical truth where you ought to be. And we want clones of each other, and we want everybody to think just alike, and we want everybody to think politically like us, and we want everybody to think what the Bible says exactly like us. And if we don't, then we argue with them, we bicker with them, we slander them, we put them down, and all of that. When you think about, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Here he's counting the cost on everything that he's feeding someone, and really considering people what they're costing him, and instead of just being what they ought to be. Be careful what you're doing here. Be careful what you fall in love with, and be careful of thinking that you need to find a seat at the table, and be careful of impressing people, and don't fear what man can do unto you. We need to do what God tells us to do and live according to that and be according to that and leave it at that. And then if things get challenging in our day, well, we still trust him, right? We still walk with him. I was reading in Isaiah 10, and he's talking about the Assyrians coming and going to take over Judah and take them captive. But God says that there will be a remnant that will still believe and trust God and walk with God. And, it just reminded me, you think about when that happened, Daniel was one of those young men who probably saw his family get killed. He gets hauled off to a new country and lives the rest of his life there and never gets to return to his homeland. But Daniel was a godly man. So often when bad things happen to us, the first thing that we do is get mad at God. We get bitter at God, and we turn our backs on God, and we shake our fists at God, and we blame God for all the bad things and never look to the good and never submit ourselves to his guidance, his leadership, and his wisdom. And all we do then is walk around the rest of our lives, wasting our lives, mad and bitter at God, when God is only good. And it just reminded me today that whatever is going on in our lives, the first thing is we ought to be thankful for his presence in our lives. We ought to be thankful for his wisdom in our lives and his strength to get us through whatever the trials are. And we just don't quit, right? So I'm kind of all over today on the devotion, but several things. And then I finished up 2 Corinthians chapter 12 today, and kind of goes along with, I was talking to people in the ministry the other day too on here, and this goes right along with that again. And here we see that they had made all kinds of accusations against Paul, the Corinthians had. And they were saying, oh, he's powerful in letter, but he's such a scrawny little guy. He has no power when you look at him. Don't be intimidated by him. Don't listen to him. And I don't know if there were people in the church doing that, people outside the church. Sounds like there were some in the church that were accusing him of different things. There was those that were accusing him of just befriending them for their money. We hear all of this trash. I hear people accuse the pastors all day long of, motives that aren't true. And yes, there are some preachers out there that are hirelings. There are those out there that are charlatans. I understand that. But the guys I know aren't that way. They give their lives to the ministry to serve God and serve people and do the best that they can to do that. And don't listen to the trash that so often is being said about your pastor or those in the ministry. And he goes on with this, and in 2 Corinthians 12, starting with verse 11, all the way through verse 21, he goes over some of those things, and they said that he was a lesser apostle than the other guys. And he says, truly the signs of an apostle were wrought among you in all patience, in signs and wonders and mighty deeds. He said, look, you saw that I'm an apostle. You saw the signs and the deeds that I did. Those were the men that had those special abilities, those sign gifts of the day. They were the ones that had those to authenticate the gospel message, to authenticate the power that the apostles had at the time. And then he said, I even came to you and was not a burden to you like I was other churches. Look, there were other churches where he expected them to take care of him. And they did. But when he went into Corinth, he never asked them for a dime because he already knew the problems they were having and knew some of the bad attitude that they were dealing with. So he never asked them even for a dime. And here they are saying that, oh, he's just in it for the money. He's like, I never took a dime from you guys. And now when all we're doing is gathering up an offering, it isn't for me, it's for the believers in Jerusalem, right? And I sent you Titus, and he also came for the same thing. But here's what he says. He says in verse 15, and I will very gladly spend and be spent for you, though the more abundantly I love you, the less I be loved. I've seen it often where pastors will get into a pity party and feel sorry for themselves. And I've seen them, I don't know, that set up only specific office hours, and they guard their time like nobody's business. I mean, that's far more important than anything is their time that they have. And they forget that this isn't an 8 to 5 job or a 9 to 5 job or a 10 to 6 job or I don't know, some pastors maybe a 9 to noon job. I gotta be with my wife the rest of the day, because that's what she demands from me or whatever. It isn't that, guys. It's your life. And it is who we are, and we serve God, and we serve people through that, and you guide your family to do the same thing. You don't keep them separated from it. You use them in it and let them be a part of it and let them see the good things of the ministry, and don't keep them separated from that, because all that then does is cause a jealousy among your family against the ministry. And that's why so many people in ministry lose their families, because they pit them against each other. And just let them be who you are, and let them be involved in it, and learn to give yourself to others. Quit being so stinking stingy with your time, or chasing after your hobbies, or chasing after 27 different jobs of ways you're making money along the way. If you preach the gospel, live by the gospel and trust that, and teach your people to give. There's so many, you go back to Proverbs, and there are so many stingy churches out there that think that, they give a preacher $100 on a Sunday to preach and think, well, he ought to be able to make it on that. And he didn't even probably pay his gas to get there. Churches have lost their minds. Preachers have lost their minds. And we need to stop being stingy, and we need to stop questioning the motives of your pastor all the time. And pastor, you need to make sure that you earn their respect by putting them where they need to be in your life. God's first. And some want to say, well, ministry then is far down the line. Well, my service to God comes first. My walk with God, obviously, and with that, just include your whole life, include your wife, include your children in the ministry, and watch God do something great as you serve God together. And be willing to be spent, even if they say bad things about you. That's what Paul did. He stuck with it. Well, we can do the same thing. Too many guys are getting out of the ministry because they just can't hack it, because they got thin skin, and they're whiny crybabies about it, and think that everybody ought to treat them like like the Pope or like some superstar. And be a servant. Be a servant to God. Serve God, and you serve God by serving people, and just keep moving forward on that. So anyway, kind of hard on the boys in the ministry today, but sometimes you just got to suck it up and be a little bit tougher. And some people do. They're going to slander, and you just move on. You keep doing what you're supposed to do and love the people and help them get where they need to be. So those are the thoughts today. Kind of rambled around today all over the place, but hope it's been a help, encouragement. Let's get out there. Let's tell somebody about Jesus, and don't worry about the politics of the day. We do our civil part, but far more importantly, we need to tell people about Jesus, and we need to do that each and every day, and watch God do a change in somebody's life that changes them for eternity. That is what's important. So God bless you guys. Let's go out and have a good day, and God bless.